Hello, good evening, friends. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
I'm Group
Good
Captain
evening, sir.
Srivastava. Some of you have connected me on the platform of Zoom, and some they would like to connect me on YouTube. Welcome, all of you. Good evening, friends. Friends, the topic today is how to structure your TAT stories. Understand TAT is the most important test in the psychological test battery. They would like to connect me on YouTube. And very sadly, very unfortunately, friends, the confusion about the TAT is far too much. People try to give you shortcuts, and these shortcuts have hardly paid you anything. Friends, and very sadly, those who are continuing on Zoom platform, the confusion about will recall that a desirable TAT story has got give you shortcuts, and these shortcuts have hardly paid you anything. Three contents, three elements. That is a task. The will recall that doer of the task, the main character, has got, and the process of task achievement. Yesterday, we have seen that what is the desirable task that the hero should be achieving, or you should be achieving through your hero in your stories. Doer of the task, the main character. That is, the task has to be to the extent possible an important task, valuable task, and to a great extent, the task should be having the element of urgency. Important and urgent. If these are the types of tasks which are appearing as a trend in your stories, then your qualities of an achiever, your qualities of commanding the situations, that will be reflected. You will then project yourself as a person who is a fighter, who is a leader, who is resourceful, who has got enough of problem solving ability. Your qualities, friends, today we will go further, and that is we will understand actually how to structure the stories and how to customize the other two elements, that is the hero or the central character and the process of task achievement. We will go further, and that is we will understand actually how to structure the stories and how to customize the other two elements. Now see how to customize or how to custom hero or the central character and the. So hero is a person, remember, who is primarily concerned and committed for the task achievement. Okay. Now, please remember that the thematic or perception test or TAT is a projective technique. So, one must understand, you must have heard this term projective technique from many mentors. Projective technique has got the basic spirit, that is, when the main doer or the protagonist, you may say, or the person in the lead role is not defined, then the person taking the test projects his own qualities. This is called as the projective technique. In the thematic or perception test or the picture story writing test, you are creator of everything, the task, the hero. The psychologist does not suggest who should be the hero from the projected picture. So since by default you will be bringing out your own qualities, on any person who is going to take the lead role in the stories. It is essential that between you and that person no gap should exist in terms of age and gender. So that is how you can see here, friends, the prescription. Hero has to be a person of your own age group, gender, and motivation. Once I say motivation, the lifestyle, the value system, the priorities of the heroes you have chosen in your stories must be perfectly matching with yours. There cannot be a gap between you and your hero, otherwise, your qualities cannot come out. On this very channel, I have published a video about the age and gender of the hero, and it was in response with the doubts or queries, or I found on one of the YouTube channels somebody has given a different types of prescription. You may refer, you may visit that video itself, but here I would like to justify it with the logic that if there is a difference between your age and hero's age, or for that matter, your gender and hero's gender, if there is a difference, then the limitations of age and gender will come in. For example, you are a person of about 20 years of age, and you can, let us say, run about 5 kilometers at a stretch. Now you are making a person, suppose in your story, the 50-year-old person, the hero. Can that person also run 5 kilometers, or can you show your ability, your athletic ability of running 5 kilometers at a stretch through that person? No. This age gap will certainly be a limitation, a serious obstruction in having your qualities projected. The second point, that is the gender. Friends, remember that we in the Indian society, however liberated we can claim ourselves to be, but the fact is that the boys and the girls, they are brought up with different role expectations to take in future, and they are skilled. They are given the knowledge, information, and the skill of, at least in some fields. Let us say, if a girl at 20 years of age, she doesn't know how to ride or how to drive a car or ride a two-wheeler. In the Indian society, this is taken perfectly normal. But if the 20 years old girl doesn't know how to make some basic dishes in the kitchen, then most of the people, they frown upon. For them, it's a matter of surprise. For them, that the girl is not being groomed properly. I mean, just an example. And the other day, I've given you the story of that person who started, writing all the filthy remarks, filthy comments on my YouTube channel. The same thing. He did not allow his daughter to contact me on her own. That much of liberty has not been given. So, without further stretching this point, friends, I'm concluding that the Indian society is bringing up its children with different role expectations, and it is therefore necessary that your hero has to be not only a person of your own age, but the person of your own gender also. But there is a big question, and that question is, if one such a type of person is not available in the projected picture, then what? Friends, remember here that in such a case, you have to, through your imagination, justify why the hero is not present in the given situation. Remember, visibility of the hero is not a criterion. Hero is not the part of every frame that you see. Let us take the example of a movie. I'm asking you a basic question. Is the hero present in every single frame of the movie? You will definitely say no. Sometimes you find on the screen there's a comedian, sometimes there are villains, sometimes there's an item girl, sometimes some other thing is projected. Hero is leading the story, but the visibility of the hero in every frame is not essential. So that's what. There are a few pictures, at least one or two pictures are there, I can say, in which there is an empty room. Nobody is there. In that case, you certainly have to imagine a sequence of events that is the story of which the hero is a part. Only thing is that you have to justify why the hero is not visible. I hope my point is now well driven home. And lastly, I would like to say that never feel obliged to pick up the hero only from the scene characters. Remember, TAT is a projective technique, which is the first point of this slide. You are going to reflect your own qualities or project your own qualities through the protagonist. And if there is a gap between you and your hero in terms of age group and gender, then definitely your qualities will not be coming out. And here, one more caution as far as the age is concerned. Friends, please remember that most of you, I mean to say, let us say the candidates who are appearing for the NDA entry, you are in a developing stage of your life, and every year you are adding something to your capabilities, to your skills, to your perspective, to your maturity. It may well be justified in case if in case you are choosing a hero who is maybe a couple of years senior to you, elder to you, but certainly do not pick up a person who is younger to you by a couple of years. Let us say you are 20 years of age and you choose a person who is 17 and a half or maybe 18 years of age. You yourself look back and go down your own memory lanes. How much have you grown up in the past 2 years? So can the 18 years old person reflect you well? Or can the qualities, your abilities, your skills, can they be reflected through a person who is 2 years younger to you? The person could be 2 years senior to you. In that case, what will happen? You can project your sometimes the life goals and the preparations and the scheme how you propose to grow up or settle down. But certainly not a person who is younger. I hope it's clear. The third thing which is to be customized is the process of task achievement. You have, let us say, customize the task, and just for the sake of recapitulation, the task has to be something which is important, something which could have a sense of urgency, something which is valuable, and something which is non-routine. Okay, so this is the nature of the task. The person who is going to commit to achieve the task, that means the hero has to be a person of your own age group and gender. And now the third thing is how the task is achieved. So friends, as you see on the slide, task is achieved by the application of means, methods, and actions. I repeat, the task is achieved by means, methods, and actions. When I say means, it means human beings and the material resources both. When I say method, how you are applying the resources, and action means those logical and appropriate to the situation actions which may prove effective. Where to get the resources from? The question is the tools, the teams, and sometimes some abstract resources where you will get. So, first of all, remember, friends, there are certain resources which are visible in the situation itself. You remember yesterday we had seen a picture in which there is a person who is threatening with a dagger to two people in a room. If you recall, friends, the room has got a study table and a chair. The chair can well be taken as a defense against a dagger. And this chair is lying in the situation itself. And it's visible. Similarly, whenever you are seeing the projected picture, you will find there are certain objects that could well be utilized as a resource in the process of task achievement. Then, second thing is there are certain resources which are available in the broad environment. They may be visible, may not be visible. For example, imagine it's a scene of a village. A tractor may be visible or may not be visible, but a tractor is very much the part of the village environment in all likelihood. So, friends, remember, you have to imagine something which is the part of environment, may it be invisible. There are certain personal resources, friends, let us say money, skills, some contacts, some gadgets. Suppose you need four people to lift certain objects which are heavy. You can hire the manpower by paying them some money. So, money could be a resource, it could be converted to either buy the things or to engage the human beings on payment basis. Similarly, your skills, by the way, do not declare, but in case your actions are projecting your skills, fine it is. You may have certain contexts, these are the human resources. Say you have got a friend who is in a position to help your another friend in need. So you may tap your contacts. Lot of gadgets today, friends, are available there that could help. For example, if you want to have a railway reservation, today you need not go to the railway counter and be in the long queue and waste your time. You can very well have the reservation done online. Computer in that case is a resource. The gadgets can be your mobile, in that case could be a resource. So please remember that these personal or individual resources in terms of money, skills, contacts, and gadgets could help you well in achievement of the task. And there are certain universal resources, friends. For example, time. Please remember, for example, that you have to catch some terrorist. The terrorist has done something, they say some activity in which a few people have died, and after doing this, the terrorists they have fled. Now, the time available to the terrorist to flee the scene of the crime and the time available to the police or the law enforcing agencies to catch is the same. About the time, friends, it is told that God is so fair and kind that He has given the time in the same measure to everybody. Time is a resource. Opportunity is a resource, but this opportunity is your perception. Money is a resource, as I have told you. So, friends, remember that the use of manpower, human resources, material resources, gadgets, your actions, time, money, opportunity, all these things are there available at your command. And if they are not at your command, you have to arrange the resources as well for achievement of the task. Here you see a table. In nutshell, I can say that you have to observe certain resources, you have to imagine certain resources, you have to improvise certain resources, and you have to manage certain resources. In the short-term task and long-term task, you can observe, imagine, and improvise. But friends, if you are achieving a long-term task, it is quite possible that you have to manage the resources also. I hope the point of how you are going to achieve the task, the process of task achievement, which includes the imagination and deployment of human as well as material resources and certain abstract resources, now is well clear to you. I hope the friends. Now, please pay attention. You have customized the three things, that is the task, the doer of the task, and the process of task achievement. Frankly speaking, when the psychologist gives you 30 seconds of time to observe the picture, he says, if you remember, each picture is going to stay on the screen for 30 seconds. You are expected, here I'm prescribing you that please observe the given picture on the screen for, let's say, about 15 seconds or so. And remaining 15 seconds, you have to utilize, or you can utilize, in customizing mentally what could be the task and what could be the planning. And remaining 4 minutes are going to be consumed only in presenting your story. So now, how you have to present or structure your stories. Here, once again, I would like to remind that stories have to be task or mission centric. They should not be keeping a person or somebody's life event or the life goals. The task is to be always kept in the center stage of the stories. In fact, if you remember what I have told when I opened the session of TAT, that a desirable TAT story is the one in which a task which is linked with the situation is being achieved. So this is just a reminder because I feel it is necessary. Another thing, friends, I would like to, for the purpose of reminding you, for the purpose of a reminder, that is some pictures. In some pictures, you will find some soldiers with the weapons and uniform. They will be shown in some actions. Now, what has happened? Many of the candidates, they are writing such stories in which certain basics of the military operations, which you are supposed to be knowing, they are compromised. And I give the credit for this to the movies and the media and those, maybe the communication means. They have portrayed in our mind a very, very unrealistic picture about the operations of the armed forces. They project the people, especially the military people and the officers, lot. Okay. Very, very loud. Okay. An extra dose of patriotism and always saying, yes, sir. Okay. The spirit of self-sacrifice in a little imbalanced proportion. Remember, friends, that a greater part of the military operations is done very, very quietly, very astutely. The element of secrecy, confidentiality is maintained to a very, very great extent. In the operations, military operations, you'll find that sometimes you have to ambush the enemy, sometimes the enemy ambushes you. You have to operate many times, undercover. You have to depend very heavily on the intelligence, espionage. And if you ask a professional soldier, so that person will tell you that dummies, decoys, tricks, and deceptions, these are the part of military operations. Whenever you find any chance of writing a story on a military theme, friends, please, for heaven's sake, do not make it a little too melodramatic. Okay, so I hope now, friends, you have understood the concept of the three elements, that is the task, the hero, and the process of task achievement. Now let's come to the presentation part. Okay, so I hope now, friends, you have understood the concept of, if you remember, elements, the type of pictures projected by the psychologist. Okay, there are three types: the neutral pictures, suggesting stress, and the direct stress. If you can recategorize, friends, remember, you can recategorize. In which way? See, in the direct stress type of pictures, let's say if there is an accident scene, if there is a fire, if there is a threat, at the gunpoint or maybe at the knife point, or if somebody is drowning, some boat is capsizing, a few pictures are there. In these pictures, the task is directly given to you in the situation itself by the psychologist. But in the neutral pictures and in the suggesting stress type of pictures, you, the candidates, you create the mission, you imagine the mission. So now we are talking about those pictures which are neutral and suggesting stress. That means when you, as the candidate, create the mission. So here, friends, remember how there is a way of doing it. Though let me tell you that it is a test of your imagination, and writing the story is absolutely as per your style. There cannot be a fixed template. However, if you follow these points, I think your qualities can better be visible to the psychologist. And since the time and the space is limited, it's better you observe these points. The first thing is that begin by introduction of the hero in a sentence or two, in which you will write the name of the hero, approximate age, and social or professional identity of the hero. Here, once again, you need to be given a little bit of explanation. Remember, the name could be any name which randomly appears in your mind. And sometimes I say that if you have to write 12 stories, including a blank story, you can pick up randomly the names of your 6 or 4 classmates of any class. I'm particularly concerned about this point because some of the mentors, they have given very laughable suggestions. At least a couple of years back, I evaluated a few dossiers in which the candidates, they have written the names. Let us say if somebody is Ram, next person is Mohammed, and next person is Charles, and next person is Santa Singh, something like that. They have been given a suggestion by some mentor that your credentials, they have to be secular, And in order to prove your secular credentials, you have to pick up the heroes from a variety of religions, prominent religions in our country. See, it looks all right. It looks a little logical on the face of it. But anything that you do which is not spontaneous, which is done deliberately, I'm afraid that you cannot be appearing spontaneous. If Ram and Muhammad and Charles and Gurkripal Singh, they are appearing in the random way, or if they are the part of your class, in the very same way, if they are appearing in your mind, do that, but do not be consciously and pretentiously try to bring such kind of things. Another thing is, I told you about the approximate age. Need not every time write the age of the hero in numericals. That let us say Charles 23, not required. The age could be even suggested by the social or the professional identity of the hero. Let's say Charles was a final year engineering student. Now the reader will automatically come to know what will be the age bracket. Okay. So, write the introduction of the hero, begin with the introduction of the hero. In that, the name, approximate age, and the social or the professional identity of the person is mentioned. Please do not repeat, do not start adding adjectives to the hero and his character and his actions and the skills. You don't have enough of time. Just give introduction of the hero in bare minimum words, sentences, maybe just one or two. That's all. Now, after this, friends, immediately introduce the task, mission, problem, aim, whatever you want to achieve. What is to be achieved? Along with highlights of the value of the task, please spend a sentence or so why the task is important. If it is not important, then definitely there's no point in picking up that task. You have to have a valuable and important task. And task can be valuable for your own growth, for your career, for the benefit of your family, for the welfare of the society, for your nation. But it has to be a valuable and challenging task. So you may say, if the task is achieved, what benefits could be accrued, and if the task is not achieved, then what loss it's going to cause. Let's say an example. If the hero wanted to establish a school for girl children in his own kasbah, say that because of lack of schooling facilities for girl children, a lot of girls, they are forced to drop out after school because the higher schooling is available, let us say 20 kilometers far from their locality. So the hero has decided to establish a school for girl children, higher secondary school, let us say, or maybe a college. So this way, the value of the task is to be seen in your stories. And next thing is that a few steps towards the task achievement process. Remember, all these things, they have to appear in the past. When the psychologist says what led to the situation, in that case, your answer should be that hero's commitment to a valuable task and his initial few steps to achieve the task have led to the situation. Let us see this with the help of one kind of, I don't say it could be called as a graphic, but maybe a representation, online representation. Not online slip of tongue. When facing stress-free and suggesting stress, remember, Now, this square or this maybe rectangle is representing the what is going on, the present, the scene part of it, the situation. What led to the situation? That means the past. You have to use your imagination, and what the outcome will be. That means the future. Again, you will be using your imagination to create. This is the seen part. This is the created part. Okay, the past and the future are the created part by your imagination. So, what the task will be? The task will appear in the past, the hero in the past, and the first few steps towards the task achievement, they will be the part of this past. What is going on is merely a connect between the past and the present, and it will continue with the strategy of the hero in future till the task is achieved. So this is the way, friends. This is the scheme or design of your stories when the picture is neutral, stress-free, and suggesting stress. Remember here that the past here is a little bulkier than what is going on and the future. Because the purpose of the story, the beginning of the story with the justification and the purpose has to be in the past. Please take it this way. Now, the second type of pictures, the direct stress type of pictures, which are containing the task itself. Because the purpose of the picture itself is containing the task, what is to be done. So here, when mission lies in the projected picture itself. So here, again, like the previous, acha, one more thing. Sorry, it has slipped out of my mind. I should have touched it here. When I say that you must begin with hero followed by the task, it does not mean, friends, that I am giving you a fixed template and I am withdrawing the liberty or the flexibility from you. Sorry, no. You may sometimes begin with the task followed by the hero, and sometimes the hero followed by the task. Let us say Ramesh wanted to, Ramesh was a young man and he wanted to establish a higher secondary school for girl children. So Ramesh, hero, followed by the task. Sometimes you may begin like this, that in a particular village, there was no school for the higher education of the girl children. So Ramesh, a young BDO, has decided to build up a school in that kasbah. I hope you got the point. Hero and task, or sometimes the task and hero, I recommend better in order to have a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of, the flow. You not regularly, but in one or two stories, you can alter the sequence, hero and the task, or the task or the hero. Now, when the mission lies there in the projected picture itself, the same way begin with the introduction of the hero, and then hero is coming to the situation and he is noticing the task, finding the task. Let's say if somebody is injured, so for hero, it is the task to rescue that person to hospital, let us say. If there is a fire, it is hero who is committing to save a few people or the property which is going to be, damaged by the, the fire, for that matter. Now you may ask me, sir, why the hero or how the hero is present on the situation, in that situation. So please remember here that hero's presence in that situation is merely accidental or coincidental. Hero has not deliberately entered the situation or come to the scene. Maybe let us say that hero is returning from the office. And it just has happened. It is his route, and on his route it has happened. It is merely a coincidence, meeting or the presence of the hero on the spot is merely unintentional. What does it mean? It simply means that do not load the hero with some other mission or more important mission. Say, if you say that hero was going to board a train and he saw an accident victim. Now, hero cannot sacrifice his journey. I mean, just I'm saying that there will be a conflict of missions. Or let us say hero is going for an interview, and as he came out on the streets, he found a person or he found an accident scene. So hero's mission, there will be conflict, you understand. So it's better do not preload the hero with certain mission. So hero is routinely present there. Let's say hero is, as I've told you, hero may be going for his tuition classes, or a hero may be going, let us say, for having some, the Xerox made of some of the documents, or maybe the hero is going there to prepare, to purchase some munchies for his evening party with his friends, whatever is there. I simply mean to say that if at all you are giving the hero a mission, it should be so light that it can be sacrificed also. So after that, what happens? The hero is there on the scene, accidentally or coincidentally, finds the tasks, and the hero then manages the task and continues on whatever was his, the purpose. Let's understand in the same way that, well, this is the situation and the situation contains the task. Hero comes to the spot as maybe a routine or unintentionally. So, friends, here the past is merely having the introduction of the hero, nothing else. Your actual story will start from the present and it will go to the future. Whereas in the previous stories, previous types of situations, should we say, where you are creating the task, the past is bulkier. So, this is the difference between the two types of projected pictures. The picture which is containing the task, that means the direct stress type of picture, has got very slender, very thin, very insignificant past, and nothing but the introduction of the hero is needed there. But in the neutral and suggesting stress, you have to write the hero, the task, justification, and the first few steps. I hope you got how to now write the stories on different types of pictures. Now, friends, this way you will be seeing 11 pictures and you will write the stories on those 11 projected pictures. Now comes the blank picture, and again on the blank picture, there's a lot of confusion, or rather, people they go with prepared stories. I mean, they try to play a trick. Psychologist very clearly says that you have to imagine a situation then and there. Now, you must understand what is the purpose of the blank story. Then you can understand perhaps my prescriptions better. First of all, remember that the blank story is not meant for any evaluation. It doesn't give any input to the psychologist for evaluation of your or assessment of your personality. Then what is the purpose? The purpose is to prepare you for the next test. That is the WAT. You have to start the next test with a proper mindset. Now, what happens? When you are writing the stories, 11 stories, you are seeing different situations and writing the stories so that two or three things they become active. First, since your hero is having a motivation, so the mind gets energized. There's energy inflow. This is a general process of, I would say, the human behavior. Whenever you have got an aim or a motivation or some need that becomes active, your unconscious mind is filled with psychological energy, and this psychological energy drives you to work and to achieve that goal or satisfy that particular need. So energization of your unconscious mind with psychological energy is the first outcome of any active, you know maybe the need or motivation. The second thing is, whenever you are seeing some pictures, these pictures, since they belong to the real life, it is quite possible that some pictures have triggered or rekindled some memories in your mind. Some emotions will also, let us say, if you are recalling something, and this happens particularly when the task is the direct distress type of a task. Let's say somebody is drowning or there is a scene of an accident. It is possible that some of the candidates themselves have either witnessed or would have been the part of such type of situation. So when such a picture is projected on the screen, then what happens? The candidates who have actually experienced these things, they get their memories refreshed in their mind. It comes alive once again. And it doesn't simply come alive as a memory. The associated emotions are, they also become active. It could be the emotion of fear, anxiety, okay, or any other emotion, pleasant, unpleasant, both. And it's possible. Now, friends, remember, with those active emotions and memories and the energy, it is not possible to take you to the second stage of the test, that is WAT. Now you may ask me, sir, why? Let us say in WAT there is a word injury, or there is a word accident. Now, if you have witnessed one accident or injury kind of a picture, and which has been a part of your own life once upon a time, so what will happen? Those unwanted emotions, emotions of fear, emotions of anxiety, etc., and that memories, they will becomes alive once again, and they will interfere with your responses. So what is to be done? Friends, the unwanted emotions, memories, and the residual energy, that is to be taken out of your mind. You may call it as the trash. These are the psychological trash. These are the psychological byproducts, unwanted byproducts, which will interfere, which will block sometimes your performance in WAT. So it is to be flushed out. It's not a physical trash, friends, that you can broom your mind out. This is a psychological trash, and it is to be flushed out through application of psychological means only. What happens when you write a story? Most of the times, your mind subsides, the energy level subsides. Your mind comes to the state of neutrality once again. The unwanted emotions and maybe the memories also, to some extent, they get subsided. You achieve a kind of equilibrium by writing a story on the projected picture, almost. But it is quite possible that the memories and the emotions are so strong and the energy in your mind is still there. So, through the blank story, we are attaining this psychological equilibrium once again by now. The residual material, that is the memories and the energy, is to be, kind of, produced, or it is to be cooked up in the form of a story. And then what will happen? you find your mind will be at ease once again. You remember the psychologist says that you have to imagine the situation then and there. Remember that the psychological energy and those emotions and the memories will automatically lead you to imagine something so that they are went out. So here, the first prescription for the blank story, there are three in fact, but the first is universal and for everybody. Imagine a situation then and there and write a story on whatever you have imagined. Friends, remember, this is the most hygienic way. First prescription for the blank story. Okay. There are three in fact, but the first is universal. But there are some people, imagine a situation, then see, sir, my mind becomes blank. I'm unable to imagine anything. Let me tell you, this is the most hygienic. I'm reiterating that the most hygienic way of letting your mind come to the state of equilibrium at ease and be better prepared to take the WAT is this. Let me tell you. Imagine a situation then and there and write a story on whatever you have imagined. Letting your mind come but the state of equilibrium. Some people they say that mind becomes blank. Actually, our conditioning of imagining something in the unseen situations is very poor as of now. We are receiving and receiving and receiving. Even in the classrooms, we receive. And people they encourage, do not try to include anything from your side. Don't imagine anything. Don't guess anything. So our mind becomes a little dormant, conditionally dormant. So for those people who cannot, if you see that for about 15 seconds or so, your mind couldn't imagine anything, so for them, I've got two suggestions. One is Zygarnik effect, and second is the recency effect. Now, friends, Zygarnik effect, I mean, you may note down from here, and in case somebody is curious, you may Google it. I'm not going to explain it much. It is connected with the memory, and its basic spirit is, remember, that an unfinished task is remembered more. Let us say you have completed a task successfully and to your capacity, you will tend to forget it. But if you are capable to perform that task and if you could not do it, then there is a feeling of remorse that you will remember that thing for a longer time. You must have seen sometimes that if in any examination, let us say, that a question worth 10 marks, but that is out of syllabus. Obviously, you have lost the 10 marks. All of you have lost 10 marks because the question asked was out of syllabus. But if there is a question which is fetching you just 4 marks, you have prepared it also. And you are quite confident of, and the question has come also. It was expected question, well-prepared question, but under the influence of maybe some temporary brainwave, you could not, or you have done that question wrong. Now you come out of the examination hall, you start comparing a note and exchanging then suddenly you realize that this question, which was well expected, you have well prepared and you have attempted it wrong. Now touch your heart, friends. Imagine yourself in this situation. You will regret the loss of 10 marks out of syllabus or loss of 4 marks, which was well within your control, within your capability. Answer is obvious. Don't give me an answer. You will regret the loss of 4 marks. So this is the example of what we call it as the Zygarnik effect. In fact, a German scientist, Bluma Zygarnik, she has discovered this effect. Now, what way we can utilize the Zygarnik effect in our situation. What happens? One of the stories, or maybe two of the stories, they are not according to your satisfaction. You could have done it better. So, if in the first 15 or 20 seconds your mind could not imagine anything, then I suggest, friends, just flutter the pages and quickly assess, maybe in 5 seconds, which is the weakest story from the previous 11 stories that you have written. You can make that story stronger here. Remember that since the story is not matching the quality of your maybe the skill or the talent or abilities, there is a mismatch, and that's why you will regret unconsciously. It will prick you. So better write the story according to your potential, according to your scheme that you wanted to add to the story, and then you will find your mind is again at ease, at least to very great extent. But what happens? Imagine a situation in which all your stories are of the same type. You didn't find, you couldn't assess which is the poorest of the story. All the stories, according to your judgment, they are of the same level. So what will happen? In that case, use the recency effect. And recency effect, as the name itself suggests, that anything that is, if it is presented in a series, so you happen to remember something which is presented earlier and something which is presented in the later parts. Since those things which have been presented to you earlier, I mean, TAT is, having a very, long, duration, say about 54 minutes or so, including the blank story. So may not be possible for you to remember the initial, let's say the pictures, but it is quite possible that you are still having the memories of the 10th or the 11th picture. So write yet another story on the 10th or the 11th picture, depending on what you are remembering it more vividly. But friends, never go with a prepared story in advance. In fact, the first batch of this present year, January batch I'm talking about, there was one gentleman, an air warrior. He was serving the Air Force and he was recommended also. He was posted at Bangalore at that time. So when I told this, he told, sir, I went to some place, maybe Indore, if I'm remembering. And some mentor has told to go with at least 4 stories prepared in advance. And he was recommended also. This is the thing, the non-professional opinions are given to you. And when you believe it blindfolded, then I'm afraid you don't receive the charity of the psychologist, friends. So here, my last advice about the blank story is never go with a prepared story. This is the most unhygienic, and take it as a warning. Some of you friends must have had some air travel, or you must have taken some air journey by Indigo Airlines. I'm quoting Indigo Airlines because in that airlines I myself seen this thing happening almost as a rule. Let's say you are going from Delhi to Bangalore. It's about 2.5 hours of flight. Let's say about half an hour before the flight lands at Bangalore, there's an announcement that you can discard whatever trash has been produced during the journey, and the cabin crew that comes there, and whatever things you have consumed there during the journey and something which you have unwrapped, the trash is discarded to keep the cabin much in a presentable state, either for the return journey or for next leg of the journey. Those people who have traveled by Indigo Airlines, they will wear out. Preparation of the cabin for the next leg of flight by clearing the trash. But that is a physical trash, friends. Here the situation is same except for the fact that here the trash is psychological and it is to be cleared by psychological means and methods. So never go with a prepared story because the residual energy, psychological energy, unconscious energy, and the memories and the emotions will still remain in your mind. They will interfere with your performance of WAT. So I hope, friends, you have got plenty of ideas as to how to structure your stories of different types of pictures and the blank story. Friends, some of you may still feel that, well, sir, I'll go with a prepared story. How the psychologist is going to detect me? Will I be detected? So here, look at this graph. Look at this worm which is in blue color on the screen. This is the quality of graph, friends, about your stories. Let's say some hypothetical candidates out of 10, if we have to evaluate the stories of a person in the scale of 10. So let's say if on an average you can see this worm is from 3 to 5, it is sometimes going up, sometimes down, sometimes remaining straight, etc., etc. But once the person goes with a prepared story, then what happens? His 12th story will stand out in terms of quality. There will be sudden spurt in the quality. एकदम से quality में उछाल आएगा. 12th story will be the best story visibly. Why? Because ideas are rehearsed. You have rehearsed, the timings, better selection of words, presentation is better, everything is much better. This is where the psychologist is going to catch you. So don't challenge the professional skills of a psychologist. And do not repeat, do not trust the prescriptions of those people who are not having the knowledge of psychology. Those umpires, make a distinction between the umpires and the coaches. There's a difference between an umpire and a coach, and I've told you right on the first day. The umpires might tell, and they keep telling, this is for sure, that you must go with a prepared story. But the coach will never advocate going with a story prepared in advance. There's a difference between an umpire and a coach. Well, friends, this was all as far as the the TAT story is concerned. For those people who have connected live on YouTube, for their information, I say that second batch of September will be commencing from 16th of September. And look at the screen. You can secure your seat by paying just 500 rupees. And this is the link mentioned here. And for any other detailed inquiry, you may contact me on these telephones, and you may contact me on the Telegram. You can take the screenshot of it, contact me. Hope that quite a few of you will respond to this invitation of joining me on 16th September. Any other detailed inquiry, you may contact friends on these telephones, and you may contact I'm going to stop this live streaming, and there will be a break for those people who have connected me on the Zoom platform. We may resume our talks after 10 minutes.